In this video, we're going to discuss how to solve system of equations word problems using elimination. And the way that this is going to feel is probably like a dragon breathing fire on you. Number 1. Miss K bought 5 bags of chips and 12 sodas for $44. And Ms. Delagua bought 10 bags of chips and 10 sodas for $60. How much did each bag of chips cost? How much did each soda cost? This, being a system of equations word problem, means it's really 2 problems in one, which is why I use the 2 different highlighter colors. If you want to know what x and y are supposed to represent, take a look at the question at the end. How much does each bag of chips cost, and how much does each soda cost? So x is going to be the cost for each bag of chips, and y is going to be the cost for each soda. The hardest part of these problems is going to be generating the equations that match the word problem. But keep in mind we're going to have one equation for what I've put in pink and one equation for what I've put in yellow. Let's take a look at what it says in pink. Miss K bought 5 bags of chips and 12 sodas for $44. What would that look like as an equation? 5 bags of chips would be 5x, that's the money I spent on chips, plus 12 sodas would be 12y, that's the money spent on sodas, and that's going to equal up to $44. Ms. Delagua, on the other hand, bought 10 bags of chips and 10 sodas for $60. Now, taking a look at the system, my x's are not going to cancel, and my y's are not going to cancel, so I'm going to have to remix one of them. I'm going to remix the top one by -2. Why did I pick -2? Well, when I distribute it, I make a -10x, which is going to cancel out my positive 10x. I get -24y equals negative, don't forget to remix that side, 88. Now, I can add them together. In order just to keep you a little bit more focused on this video, I'm going to actually scratch this one out, which doesn't mean it goes away, but that way we can focus on the 2 that are written there. Okay, so now when I add them together, I get -14y equals -28. 60, -88 make -28. Divide by -14s. And a negative divided by negative is going to be a positive, which is good because it's cost. It's going to be +2. So that means y is going to be 2. Keep in mind that the y is the cost for each soda. $2 for each soda. Let's use that and plug it back in. So if I plug it back into this top black equation right here that I can still see, that would probably be easier. But I could also do it to the one that I covered up. It's all good. So I get 10x plus 10 times 2, because I put it in for y, equals 60. 10x plus 20 equals 60. Go ahead and keep solving out. I know many of you probably work ahead. You don't need to watch the video for this. Divide by 10s, and x equals 4. What did x represent? It represented the cost for each bag of chips. So each bag of chips costs $4, each soda costs $2. I want to make sure that you write your final sentence at the very bottom of this problem before you move on. Number 2. A baseball team holds a car wash where they charge $10 for each car and $15 for each SUV. Let's see. This one's going to be trickier to highlight. If they wash 35 vehicles all together and make $425, how many of each vehicle did they wash? So if that's what they're asking us, that means that's what x and y have to represent. So we'll say x is the number of cars that they washed, and y will be the number of SUVs that they washed. SUV stands for Sports Utility Vehicle. Alright, so what do we know? Well, we know they charge $10 per car, which is going to be 10x, and $15 per SUV. Oh, cool, there's another plane going overhead. That's awesome. And since we're talking about dollars, oh, it's a helicopter. Cool. How much money should that add up to? We have two options in terms of the numbers that are left over. We have 35 and we have 425. If we're talking about money, which one do we want to use in this case? We want to use the 425. Now, what does the 35 actually represent? The 35 is the number of vehicles that they washed. So how did they count up all of those vehicles? They added the cars plus the SUVs. Cars plus SUVs was 35 vehicles altogether. The hardest part of these problems is making the equations first. So now we're going to have to remix and solve. I'm going to remix by a very easy number. It is so easy to multiply by tens. So I get negative 10x, negative 10y equals negative 350. Okay, just to keep things simple, I am going to scratch this one out, although I may want to use it later, it's true. I don't have to use it, I can always use a different one. Now let's go ahead and add them up. My x's cancel, my y's I have 5y, and for my right side I have, what's 325 minus 3? I'm sorry, 425 minus 350, 75. Divide by 5s. Many of you probably have to do long division for this. Maybe, maybe not. I don't, but I will show you just to review. It is 15. What did y represent? 15 what's? 15, go to the right side, 15 SUVs. SUVs. Now, I could plug this back into one of those really complicated problems, but I want to remind you, one of those really complicated equations, but I want to remind you what the equation was underneath here. It said the number of cars plus the number of SUVs is 35 vehicles. That is by far our easiest equation. So I'm going to use that 15 for this y right here. Okay? There is no reason for me to do a more complicated one. So if it was 35 vehicles altogether, some of you could probably even figure that out in your head, but I'm showing you how to solve it out. That means they must have washed 20 cars, right? Because X is the number of cars. I do want you to write your full sentence before you move on to number 3. Number 3. This time I'm going to ask you to pause the video and try some things on your own. You're actually, let me think. Actually, I think you're doing this one. Yeah. You're actually doing this one and you're recording your answer on your gate check. That's right. Okay, so go ahead and do number 3 and then make sure you record it on Google Forms. Alright? Give it a try, honey bunnies. See you tomorrow.